every successful person got there by going through tough times. Success is a hard-ass teacher who likes to knock you around along that journey. You know, it takes real guts to not give up and keep going. We'll hear stories about failures and how these leaders flip the script to create success. I'm John Schultz. Join me and let's discover how success is never really overnight. So welcome to the John Schultz podcast. This might end up being my favorite podcast if this is all over. Why? Because I know Mary Ansell, who's now, Brian might get mad at me if I said that. So maybe tie with Brian Ansell, but we're going to have Mary Ansell on today. I've known her family forever. They're in our community. We spend time socially together with her and her husband, Mitchell Ansell, who I have to give a shout out to him as well. So welcome to the podcast. I'm so happy that you're on today.
Thank you for having me. So appreciate it.
You're welcome. So Mary has a cool story. Today she's Open Heart Yoga founder, teacher, board member. Started that in 2014. It's located in the Shrewsbury Red Bank area. It's an amazing studio. You can see a little bit of it behind you. It's in a beautiful office building, and we're going to talk about that. She has a wonderful husband, Mitchell Ansell, and 3 kids, Carly, Stephen, and Matthew, almost the same ages as my kids. But we grew up all together, and we're still friends, so that's terrific. So I'm very excited to do this. So myth of overnight success. And I always say when I do these, it's like I get to know my friends even better, right? I've had a couple on lately. So this has been a new and fun experience. So you grew up in Springfield, New Jersey, right? What would you say, first of all, shaped your early life, and what kind of values you think you learned when you were younger, and maybe some of the challenges you had?
Absolutely. Our childhood definitely affects who we are at this present moment. I am a native New Jerseyan. I am number 3 out of 4 children. So my brothers, my sister, they all grew up and still reside in New Jersey. My parents actually met in high school in New Jersey, and they still live here. And my grandparents came to New Jersey from Ellis Island, from Italy, from Ireland, from Scotland. So I'm aware that when people talk about New Jersey, they think of traffic, they think of crowds. But I really think it's a beautiful balance of the ocean and the beach and the mountains and the forest and the countryside and the cities. So I really resonate with connecting to nature, and I really value my alone time. I value connecting within and staying curious how I'm connected to everyone and everything, but I also love the energy of cities. So New York City is so close to us, and fabulous New Jersey cities. So it really, because of that balance that I resonate to so much, and I think almost every Jersey girl has a nice combination of grit and grace, and I really had to tap into those qualities at a young age. At 12, I was told I had scoliosis, and it's a curvature of the spine, and that I had to wear a brace from the top of my cervical spine all the way down to my tailbone for when I was 12, 13, 14. So that was really a difficult time for me. I had to tap into grit. I had to tap into grace. And I had to go to school with what felt like armor every day. And so looking back, though, that scoliosis experience really was a major seed as to where I am right now in this present moment. It's one of many seeds.
Well, first of all, Bruce Springsteen wrote about Jersey girls, and you're definitely one of them, right? Grit was in that song, and he knew it, and we all know it. So, that's hard, right? Because it's not like you were born with it, right? All of a sudden,
right.
At 12 years old, I'm an American Got Talent fan, and there was this dance group that was on, and the one girl in the dance group had scoliosis, and she performed with it right after she got out of her brace, right? And she had surgery, and the team was behind her. So so obviously you felt it. What challenges and how did it make you stronger, right? Because you had this normal life, then boom, and even
Right.
though thank God it worked out, but like, what did you get from that? I mean, I know you got grit, but
Yeah,
you
well,
know,
I called it a seed, but at the time it felt like a weed, right? But the weeds really help you with your growth as well. So it made me develop self confidence. I had to go into school with a big brace on every day. So it made me develop internally a lot more than externally. So maybe people judged me for a moment because I was wearing a brace, but hopefully the energy that I emitted, showed them something else. So
did your friends support you? Did you have any hard
yes,
times? They did. Well, that's
yeah,
good
yeah,
because
they did.
that's not always the case, right?
Correct. And actually, one of my best friends had to have a brace as well. So, but we were the only two out of everyone. So
All right, so you're 12 years old, you go through this, you get through it.
yeah,
Once it sort of got to where you could move on from it, did you still play sports after? Like how did you move through that? What
right.
was the
So
first thing you wanted to do,
well,
that you couldn't
it
do?
was hard to move in a brace. So 12, 13, 14, when I got that off, I was into gymnastics and moving was really medicine. Moving was my medicine, and so beautiful experiences throughout my lifetime going down to the Jersey Shore. I worked on the boardwalk and I also was a lifeguard. So that's another nice balance of not city and beach, but like, energy and nature, right? So, and then in my 20s, I became a special ed school teacher. I
Did you
love.
learn that? Did you want to do that when you were in college? Like, did you choose that, or how'd you get into that?
I always knew I wanted to be a teacher. I didn't know I wanted to be a special ed teacher until that evolved. I went to college for early education and got certified K to 12 special ed, K to 8 regular ed. So it was easier to get a job in special ed. And because it was a new, I guess when I was going to school, there really wasn't special ed classes. But when I graduated from college, more schools were developing their special ed program. So they needed a lot of teachers. And right away, I became a junior high special ed teacher. And I just loved, and still love teaching.
That's great.
Yeah.
I love that. It's so important. I mean, it's everything. I mean, education, if you just look throughout history, separated why anyone's anything. And I just wish we could actually focus more attention on that in our world and made that more important, meaning teachers should make a lot more money, I think. All right. So you went to college. Was your first job a teacher? Was that your first
Yeah.
job?
Well, I was a lifeguard. I worked on the boardwalk,
Right.
waitress. But my first job in my career was a special ed teacher, and around that time, in my 20s. That's also when I met the love of my life, Mitchell, and so we just had beautiful experiences together and created a family of 5. We had 3 children in less than 4 years. And that's when I started finding yoga as well. So yoga came into my life around that time. Pregnancy for me was the most amazing, wonderful experience, but it also took a little toll on my body because of the scoliosis. So my neck had a lot of pain, my back, some pain. And thankfully, my doctors, instead of prescribing medicine, they said, how about some more movement? Try yoga, try swimming. So movement is medicine, like I said earlier, and I tried both of them, and yoga stayed with me and is a constant thread throughout my life right now.
I love that. You know what I love? First of all, you wanted to be a teacher. What does yoga people do? They teach people how to move and have a different sort of meditative state with their bodies. But it only happened because of your issue, right? Like as much as this scoliosis, because it seemed like you got out of worked, always got jobs, like nothing stopped you from just being the doer and the helper and the giver and the happy person you are, and then you're combining both your things. So let's talk about it. So yoga was good for you, and obviously you felt now you wanted to give that to the world, right?
Yeah.
So how did you start this open heart yoga, and because still, like starting a new business, regardless, is a hard thing. What was the impetus of that?
Well, the impetus was because I went and started practicing yoga regularly. I first went just for a physical relief of my back pain and neck pain. And I did get that. I got that physical relief. But I received a multitude of beautiful blessings from yoga that you can't count. You can't even talk about each one of them. You just could feel them.
Give us one, because I love this. Give me one blessing.
Greatest gift is presence, right? So being present, being right here, not 5 minutes ago, not last week, not thinking about what's happening later on, just being here and connecting to your breath. Really, you can't help but be present. So you just practice that on the mat. On the mat, you get so many gifts, but you don't keep them on the mat. You bring them with you off the mat, right? It's focus, resilience, handling stress, staying calm, staying right here. But there's so many more. And I was thinking to myself, it should not be, it should be more inclusive. Yoga should be for everyone, right? It shouldn't be an exclusive yoga studio or in an exclusive club. It should be in, an inclusive, yoga studio. So around this time when we were having children and I was practicing yoga, Mitchell and I were really active in supporting and volunteering for our amazing nonprofits right around this county. Monmouth County has so many nonprofits and charities, each resonating with amazing missions, each giving so many resources to our community that we couldn't help but support them. We want them to stay here. So that was another seed that, was planted in my yoga mind and my creating a family mind and my loving teacher. So I love to teach, love community, love nonprofits, love yoga. Something's happening. So.
All right. So talk about that, because it's interesting. Like, and I get what you mean about inclusive. Like, you wanted to offer it to way more people in a different way in a community that, you wanted to share it with. Why'd you make it a nonprofit? Like, 'cause that's unique. Like, this is a unique thing you did. Like,
yes.
Explain that to us.
I thought yoga should not be a privilege for some people. It should be a given for everyone. So we need more people to practice yoga. If more people practice yoga, they dive into themselves a little bit more. They connect with themselves and their connection with everyone else.
So do people sponsor? Like, how does it work with a nonprofit so that, like, for the community, like, do people sponsor certain, ways to get people to come in?
Exactly. So I'm obviously really good at dreaming and imagining, but you need to make these things happen, right? So I resonate with energy, and there's 7 major chakras in your body, and not even knowing it, subconsciously, I use that energy to create my business plan. So the first chakra, which is down by your tailbone, it is the one that I spent most time in creating. So this is what you're going to think it sounds a little hokey, but this is what it is, right?
No,
so
I know.
The first chakra, and every chakra, again, it has a sound, it has a pitch, it has a color, it has an element, but I'm not going to talk about all those. I'm going to talk about the energy and how it helped me with my business plan. So chakra number 1, base of your spine, it is feeling at home in your body, feeling safe, feeling secure. So I said to myself, I want to open this nonprofit yoga studio. How do I feel about this? Am I safe? What's the worst case scenario that could happen? What's the best case scenario? What are the risks involved? Is it going to affect my family? All of these questions. So I thought about them, and first and foremost, my family. Yes, it's going to affect my family. It's going to affect my family beautifully. Like Carly, Stephen, and Matthew were like, go for it. And they helped me spread the word. And they helped me with Mind Body platform. They helped me with social media. I never had Facebook, Instagram, any of it. So and Mitchell was 150% behind me, very supportive. And so I was very comfortable with that, but I wasn't comfortable with business, right? So I'm a teacher. I love yoga, but paying rent, paying all of the other business stuff. So I really educated myself with nonprofits, was online, printed out papers and filled out applications and got a lawyer and spent a lot of time and effort. And it didn't take months, it took years to get a 501c3 approval. And we became a nonprofit, I think 2014, like you said, or 2015. And, but it was a nonprofit without a home. So we didn't have a brick and mortar, but I went and spread the word about open heart yoga, how I wanted it to have greater access to yoga and mindfulness. I worked at retirement homes. I worked at safe houses. I worked at parks and beaches and schools, just to, get the word out that I'm going to be opening up a studio. But I still wasn't feeling 100% safe. You're never 100% safe, but I still wasn't feeling safe to open the studio. So thankfully, when you open a nonprofit, you have to have board members. And I surrounded myself with the smartest, most amazing women. So Robin Klein is our president. Sima Epstein and Felicia Stoller and Janet Widener are all on our board. And they all are so smart and give off amazing energy and beautiful fortes, and their expertise and everything, their energy nourishes open heart yoga beautifully. So then finally I was safe. I felt good about it. And then we're gonna move on up to the second chakra. It's like right above your tailbone. It's below your navel. It is your creative energy. It's like when you open up your hips in class here, you all know where your hips are, but where is your creativity? Where is your connection to your relationships? So that's what I thought about for a little bit. And I said to myself, how cool would it be if you come into class and you buy a class or you buy a package a month, an unlimited, whatever you buy, you're donating. So practice and give. That ended up being our tagline, open your heart, practice and give. So whatever you buy, you're donating. And you're donating your package to our local nonprofits. So the volunteers, the recipients, and even some employees of our community partners practice for free because of our students.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. I don't think I've ever heard of another yoga studio operation doing that. And I've never heard many other businesses doing that. So, I mean, really, it's very unique and very, very good. And it's such a community thing. It's like community on steroids. That chakra is probably lighting up all sorts of stuff right now. So that's good. So how many customers do you have now?
MindBody is a great app that we use that keeps track of all of our customers. I'm not sure how many customers we have, but we have a lot. We have about 4 or 5 classes a day. We have 8 or 9 teachers.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. So we're
all right. So listen, you said it was a couple years to get this nonprofit. Like, what are some of the challenges? Because listen, you could be safe.
Yeah.
Like that's our mind helping us, right? Because if
Exactly.
we think it will be. You didn't really understand business, social media. You pulled in all this support. What have been some of the challenges, though, that you want to break through now that you've learned a little bit more about how to run this business, more of a brick and mortar and all the stuff that
there was like so much more that went into it even before we opened. Like, was I self-confident? That's your third chakra, by the way. It's powerful above your navel. It's where your self-confidence, your willpower, your self-esteem reside. And I was all in. My family and friends were all in, but I still needed a little extra. So I incorporated corporate sponsors to our open heart yoga, and we have dentists, we have builders, we have realtors, we have lawyers that really help us be sustainable. So, and in return, we give them yoga vouchers for their employees, for their patrons, etc. So that is very helpful. And then also, we just felt like we were following our heart. The next chakra, obviously, open heart yoga, our favorite chakra, Anahata chakra. So we really were leading with our heart. We knew that this was going to be good for the community. We knew that it's people practice yoga, so why not? Why wouldn't they want to practice here and, give benefits to somebody else? It feels good. So we thought we were on the right track.
So you mentioned, when you first went in this, you had the balance thing you were worried about, your family, right?
Right.
So how's that going? Like, has the balance worked? What are some of the challenges with it? Because listen, when you get into your business, we all know we can't help it, right? We're in it. We want it to succeed. So do you feel you're able to maintain that balance as the board, teacher, board member, founder? It's a lot. Great mom.
I think that it's a really nice balance because we have a great team. So when anyone wants to go on vacation, when somebody's not feeling well, we all chip in and teach for each other, right? So, and also it was a great time for me to start this endeavor because my children were, more independent. And so the balance worked. I could still go to football games and anything at school because my classes were at different times. And again, we did a lot of substituting. So, so it worked out.
And you got 8, 9 people. That's amazing. That's and it's amazing what growth over a very short period of time. But it's really not a short period of time. That's what everybody doesn't realize, right?
No.
We say that because it's up and running. No one realized it took you 5, 8, 9, 10 years to get it to this amazing place. With JBG. So just even getting these organizations to trust you enough to allow you into their organization's amazing.
Exactly.
So let's talk about like mental health. Just what's going on in the universe today. And it just seems social media and all this stuff is making it like escalate and go faster. Like, where does yoga play a role and how can it help in this? And how can we educate younger people? Because I like whenever I go to yoga class, it seems like a lot of older people go.
Right.
Like, how do we get the younger community where I think it's like so necessary now to look at this as something rather than pain medication or all this other stuff?
Well, they know the secret. So the younger kids do know the secret now. So they come in here and they practice and they can't wait to come to their mat. And I go to schools. I taught the RBC football team, 70 football players at once. And I teach preschoolers. So they found yoga a lot younger than I did. And it's a wonderful, wonderful thing that they're doing. Connecting to your breath, like I spoke to you about earlier, and connecting within and just checking yourself out. When you first come to your mat, how do you feel? All of these poses, it doesn't matter how they look. It matters how they make you feel. What's the energy you're balancing? Sometimes you're more physical. What are you strengthening? What are you opening? And mental health is, I think that there's so many poses, for example, that improve your mood just by getting your head below your heart. Like inversions don't necessarily mean headstands and handstands. It just means forward folding, getting the blood circulating in your brain, endorphins, serotonin. You feel good. So,
do you feel that the yoga, because like with your pain, right? Like pain medication's the worst thing I think you could do. Yet, sometimes you have to, obviously. But
right.
Do you feel there was a real, relief from yoga where you didn't have to take the pain medication?
Yeah, I didn't take pain medication, so it was a relief. And I've had teachers over the years. One of the teachers was 100 years old. I brought my mother, who was in her 80s, to the class. So you can grow old with yoga. It doesn't make joints hurt and doesn't make you hurt. It makes you feel good. You definitely push yourself in and out of comfort zone when you're on your mat, but that's what you're supposed to do out of, off the mat as well. In your life, you're supposed to come in and out of your comfort zone.
So so the pandemic shocked us all, right? Like,
right.
I know it's post-pandemic now, right? And we actually, that's a real thing. Like we lived through a historical event that, we never have. And it was a crazy one. How do you think the landscape of yoga wellness evolved, particularly like after the pandemic? You know,
Yeah,
did it?
we opened our doors in 2019 and we were rolling. We found our groove, and then all of a sudden everything stopped. So we had to close our doors to students. However, we learned very quickly that our teachers can go into the studio by themselves and turn on this iPad and teach yoga virtually. And we actually taught people in different countries, different states. So it was great, and we still use it every single day. So that was a weed that turned out to be a seed. And now we have virtual yoga in our studio every day.
So now so that opened up a whole new potential customer base. Do
Yes.
you feel that once the pandemic ended, did you get more customer, like were people thinking they needed more wellness, more mindset change? Because we were all like out
Yes.
of our minds. Did you see a change or no?
100%. Yes. And a lot of people, since they were home, they were able to start a yoga practice. And so when they feel how great it makes them feel, they just continue it. So that was a wonderful gift.
And as a leader in the yoga community, like what message would you like to share about the importance of self-care, wellness in today's world? Because I think like, you know, it's the old adage like, you know, get through it, or, you know, like being ashamed to not feel
I feel
not
it
good.
to feel it. Right.
So as a leader in this, like what message would you want to leave to both people that are going through it now and, you know, people that would like to learn more about it?
So the message that why people should start yoga, is that what you're asking?
Yeah, just, you know, the importance of it. Like, you know, everyone says, oh, I need to do more self-care.
Yeah.
Why should yoga be a core component of that?
Because yoga works every single muscle, tendon, and system, and that's physical, right? But it gets way deeper. You learn so much about yourself on the mat, and you bring that with you off the mat, and it affects everyone around you. It affects your family, your friends. I speak about, like, for example, if you do a pose that brings your chin down to your chest, you are nourishing your throat, you're nourishing your cervical spine, you're nourishing your thyroid gland, but more important, you're nourishing your communication. You're very great at communicating. You have your own podcast. So a lot of people are not. I'm more of a listener than a communicator, than a talker. But I learned to use my words with transparency, use my words with kindness, with truth, all from being on the mat, by the way. And then that helped me with my business, because then I have a mission statement. I have an elevator pitch. I have a tagline. So these are all things that we need to communicate to get the word out, right? So the tagline, open your heart, practice and give. Our mission statement, to provide greater access to yoga and mindfulness, right? And our elevator pitch, if you buy a class, you give a class. I mean, it feels good. So self-care, you learn so much about yourself. That's what we're here for. We learn about ourselves and we spark somebody else. And that's what you're doing. You're sparking someone else. Like, you have this podcast to shine a light on somebody else. How awesome is that?
I know it. You know what's great about it? Like, I actually learned how to listen more.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, it's one thing to have one, but it's not, you know, you're trying to get a real good understanding of someone else. And that means you got to have much better listening skills. And,
yes, we're opposite. So I would be the listener. It would be great. You know, I would be listening and you could talk all day long. That's
when I really have to talk, I'll like go on someone else's podcast so I can just get it all out. Then I come back to mine and then I listen. So this is wonderful. You know, is your family still involved? You know, I know at the beginning you said, have they all been still chipping in different ways?
Yes. So Matthew brings his friends here regularly. He's a 24-year-old man. So everyone's thinking that yoga is for women. It's not. I have a class that last week, it just coincidentally was 7 men. And there was not one woman except for me. So we had to take a picture and post that because it was a cool thing.
100%.
And yeah, so I think that they are still helping me. Carly comes to classes. If I have like a tech problem, I'll ask her. and Steven supports. He'll come as a gift for me because he knows how much I love it. He, the more he practices it, the more he gets it. So you really have to practice it to get it. I didn't like my first yoga class, but by the third yoga class, I was hooked.
And we know Mitchell, no matter who sees Mitchell, this is always coming out of his mouth. He promotes you like no one else does. He's the best at it. I'm smiling and I'm feeling warm in my heart because Allison, my wife, has her Pivot Theater Company, and Evan and Mackenzie and myself and her all pitch in the same in different ways. And we feel like we're adding to the community, or she's adding to the community, and we're helping her do that.
Of course.
And I love that we're both in the same community and support each other. So
I love it too. And I love how you say Mitchell spreads the word. I know that he always tells everyone now to take a breath. Even before he golfs, he takes a breath.
Well, listen, when he goes in court and he's probably better now because he knows how to take a 5-second breath before he talks, right? And it comes out much more calm. Well, I just want to thank you so much for doing this. To me, people learning about what a great concept, like cradle to grave, however you want to say concept, and how you went about thinking about it, how you weren't afraid to do it, how you took your time and didn't feel like, you had to rush. You just, you let it happen. I always feel like things happen when they're supposed to.
Yeah.
And, I think this process reinforces that, at least for me.
It does. It was
take
really
a breath.
Yeah. It was very
happen.
The whole envisioning it and having it come to fruition was very organic. And so was attracting my teachers. They came to me. It was organic. They resonated with our mission, and they are rock stars. All of them are amazing. But it takes everything. It takes the board members. It takes the community partners, all of our 10 major charities that are right here around this Anderson building that we're at. And Sickles is on the bottom floor, but all of our nonprofits are all around us. And please check them out.
So much fun. Well, again, thank you so much for being on.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
You got it. Hi, John Schultz here. Thank you so much for tuning into this week's episode. Would really appreciate it if you would like, comment, subscribe, and share with your friends. Looking forward to being with you soon.